with Ruvi Ziegler. He's an associate professor of international refugee law at Reading University, joining us from Reading. Ruvi, good to have you on this news hour. I just want to find out, in terms of the legality of housing migrants on this vessel, of course, being one of three the UK is trying to use, is that all within international law?
Yeah, well, thanks very much for having me on the program. So I think it's right to actually contextualize this in terms of the UK's obligation. So these are individuals who have come to the UK in search of safety. They are asylum seekers. The UK recognizes this. And the UK has obligations towards asylum seekers, both in international refugee law, but more generally as human beings under human rights law, under the European Convention of Human Rights and under domestic UK law. And that means that the UK, as those individuals have their asylum applications assessed, those individuals have to be provided with appropriate accommodation and indeed with access to other rights. And what the UK government is trying to do here is essentially, rather than house them in appropriate accommodation on land within the United Kingdom, it is trying to have them removed kind of far from sight and far from interaction with the general population on this boat. Now, ultimately, the sort of problems that have arisen already is that the Fire and Brigades Union has highlighted, that Wessex Water has highlighted in terms of the plumbing issues on this boat, indeed the costs of hosting them, which have been estimated to be more at the current occupancy than hosting these individuals in the Savoy Hotel in London. All of these suggest that it is a very odd way of addressing the issue of accommodation for asylum seekers. Whether it's technically would breach the law would depend on the conditions on the vessel. But I think the last point I would want to make in this context that is how much of a rhetorical device this is, because at most this vessel can host 500 people in about 220 rooms. The backlog of asylum applications in the UK is 175,000. And so this is a minuscule element within the asylum system in the UK, and it's intended for show. It's intended to show the UK is supposedly tough on asylum seekers and making their lives difficult.
And it certainly seems that they are making their lives difficult. We've had one refugee charity saying the government is playing, and I'm quoting here, Russian roulette with the lives of asylum seekers. What legal rights do asylum seekers have here, and who could actually take up their cause?
Right. So firstly, of course, individuals who, for whatever reason, have additional concerns to the concern that anyone would have if they were placed on this barge, effectively in prison-like conditions where they're not allowed off. They are in conditions that are worse than those if people are hosted ordinarily on the ship, because cabins that are designed for one person are apparently intended for usage of two. And of course, some people, for health or other conditions, won't be able to be on that boat, even if it meets fire health and safety regulations. And so they, as individuals under the UK's jurisdiction, have recourse to the UK courts. They can bring cases individually against the government and to prevent it from having them removed to this boat. International organizations and NGOs operating in the UK can intervene in those cases. And indeed, as your reporter suggested, the Fire Brigades Union has taken its case as well, and essentially issued this pre-action letter to the Home Office in advance of potentially bringing a judicial review claim. Ultimately, this program, this plan is, to use a pun here, really dead in the water. It's not going to work, and it's not really addressing the fundamental issues around the UK's broken asylum system. It's intended for show, and it's intended to harm individuals who, to repeat, have come to the UK in search of safety.
Ruvi Ziegler, really appreciate you breaking that all down for us so well, live there from Reading. Thank you very much.